Today's video, in less than 5 minutes, we're going to go through how private equity works, how its strategy is typically implemented in different industries, and how the machine, if you will, of the middle market, lower middle market private equity realm tends to operate. Now, let's caveat that this does not include everything. This is not for every type of industry specialist, but generally speaking, when someone says to us, how exactly does private equity work? This is kind of the general overview that we would communicate. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, managing partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market, M&A and capital advisory firm, helping companies generating roughly $1 million to $10 million a year pre-tax earnings or EBITDA, sell their companies, or secure capital. And we'll include that introduction as part of the 5 minutes to keep this brief. But nonetheless, private equity has capital committed to it, whether through pensions, endowments, high net worth individuals. This is what you'll hear as the private equity firm as the GP, the general partner, and all of the investors as the LPs, the limited partners. Now, these limited partners provide capital to the GP to go out there and buy companies. Now, private equity then says, let's have a strategy, a thesis. They look for, example, a fragmented industry. Now, fragmented industry means, let's say you took the whole world of widget distribution, widget manufacturing, software of a certain type, services of a certain type. If the top 5 people in a particular industry don't own more than, let's say, 30% of a market, it can be deemed fairly fragmented. Think of lots of different people in lots of different states and countries doing similar things. So private equity goes out there and it finds a platform company upon which it is going to build its thesis. It finds company A that generates $3 million a year in EBITDA, and it acquires this business for 6 times EBITDA. So let's say they acquire company A that makes $3 million of EBITDA for $18 million. That's their platform. They then go around and try to map out both access and capabilities. Access being end markets, geographies, demographics, and capabilities being different adjacencies. So if it's widget manufacturing, maybe it's widget servicing. If it's widget servicing of a certain type, well, maybe it's another type. Again, think of home care, saying, okay, we do roofing, now we're going to do gutters and window cleaning. If it's software for dashboard, well, now we're going to do task force management or order implementation or scoping or quoting. But point being is, companies will take the platform down and then they'll try to buy more of these platform companies in addition to finding adjacencies, both again from an access and capabilities perspective. So say they buy platform company number A for 6 times. They then buy a handful of small companies for 4 times, and then they go out and they buy more similar sized companies for 6 times as well. And so say they buy $5 million more of EBITDA collectively at 6 times that. And so they spend $30 million there. They spent $18 million for the platform that they initially bought, which now they're up to $48 million. And then they bought $10 million of EBITDA collectively through a bunch of $500,000 EBITDA type companies for 4 times. Again, they weren't represented by Hillview Partners, so they didn't get great multiples. So let's just say, for simplicity's sake, we're maybe overwriting some of the prior metrics we said, but they bought $5 million of EBITDA at 6 times EBITDA. So they spent $30 million of it over here. They bought the platform for 18, and let's say they bought $5 more million of EBITDA, integrating it together, or smaller companies, at 4 times. So they spent $20 million on that EBITDA, they spent $30 million on this EBITDA, and they spent $18 million on this EBITDA. So 30 plus 20 plus 18 equals $68 million. They spent $68 million on 5, 5, and 3 of EBITDA. And so now we have $13 million of EBITDA collectively for the price of $68 million. And so $13 million of EBITDA has been acquired for $68 million. There's a lot of integration, a lot of work, a lot of optimization that goes into all of that. However, that's an average multiple acquisition price of about 5.2 times. Now, private equity has this gigantic, let's say larger, $13 million EBITDA generating company that it can then go take to the market and sell to either a larger private equity firm, to a large strategic acquirer, to a publicly traded company, or to someone else larger than them at an expanded multiple. Because as you go up the capital food chain, the cost of capital goes down, the price people can pay is more. What we mean by this is lower middle market private equity has to generate better returns than large private equity because, again, they're dealing with smaller companies. They need to have more of a margin of safety, the same way that the return on publicly traded companies can be lower than what larger private equity buys. So generally speaking, they're going to buy all of this for 5.2 times EBITDA average, and they could sell this $13 million EBITDA business for $156 million, or what is effectively 12 times. So they buy it at 5 and change, they sell it at 12 times. It's called multiples arbitrage. It is the thesis of a lot of private equity activity, if not the bulk of it, and that's the idea. So in this situation, they paid $68 million for $13 million of EBITDA, and they sell the same $13 million of EBITDA when properly packaged, when properly integrated, for $156 million, yielding a profit of $88 million. Now, I have no idea if we beat the 5-minute timeline here. However, that is generally the thesis of private equity. It's the aggregation of fragmented industries, buying things at lower multiples and integrating them together such that you can sell them at a higher multiple. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, private equity is doing a roll-up of this, private equity is aggregating this, private equity is consolidating this, in today's day and age, they're doing it intelligently, they're doing it thoughtfully, and in the vast majority of cases, they are doing it not like Attila the Hun, but in very thoughtful patterns in order to create ultimately good outcome. But that's the idea. That is how private equity works in, let's say, around 5 minutes. Hope the week's finishing up well for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see you for next time.